What up, iReef? Hey, iReef, I saw your comment after I had already ended the stream saying you're in Orlando too. Hey, Dave, wow. I'm sitting here on the balcony of my hotel room and it's starting to thunder and thunderstorm. So I'll do this as long as I can, up to an hour. Hey, hey, iReef, what's up, Noble Reef? Hey, I'm heading to Worldwide Corals tomorrow. So I don't know if iReef, you want to do a quick meetup there. I'm going to try and go early in the morning. I'm having a Seagram's Jamaican Me Happy drink. Nice light Seagram's Escapes. All right, yeah. I don't really. Did you get those? Yes, Dave, I did. Thank you very much. Yeah, I did. So the frags got home safe, got them acclimated. Sunday they looked good. They looked excellent. And then I Monday they left. I Do you guys hear the thunder? Monday I left out before I had a chance to look at them, but Sunday they looked excellent. Thank you very much, Dave. Noble Reef, how do you like those AirPods? I like them. I think the next generation they're going to do noise canceling, but um, they are great. Be very careful. Don't lose them because it's $170 for the entire thing. But if you lose this or the case, it's $75 to replace it. So if you lose like two of the three components, then you've already bought a new one. So just be careful. Hey, all right, I would love to, but WWC is on closer to kissing me, and I got to work at 8 a.m. in the Sanford area. I think I'm about 20 minutes, 15 minutes from what Uber told me from WWC. So, Diacanthus Reef, hey, oh, how's the vacay treating you? Treating me well, man. Got a nice tan. You guys can't see it, but I got a nice tan. It's nice. Orlando is nice. A nice break from the city, not big, tall buildings, nice and flat. Really nice. I like it here. I have to say, I like it here. I do like it here. Nice, quiet. Um, very hot. Very, very hot. Very hot. Very, very, very hot. Very hot. It's expensive to vacation down here. Um, I mean, my wife just told me what we paid to go into the Disney Magic Kingdom. Jeez, it's expensive to vacation. But then again, which vacation is cheap? Melvin's Aquatic Empire. Hello, Reefing Widow. Hello, man. I have been monitoring my tank to make sure that everything is tip top, working well. So far, everything is looking good. I've had my mother-in-law stop by a couple of days and feed the tank. Not every day, like every other day. So I left on Monday. She came on Tuesday. She came today. I'll be back Saturday. So she fed the tank. So far, I'm looking at my Apex and everything looks good. All non-essential equipment, I turned it off just to ensure that if I have any issues, it's not going to be because of anything non-essential. The chiller is keeping the tank at a nice 80 degrees, so everything looks nice, and where I left it. Hey, Greg, is that you?
That is. What's happening?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
I guess you know Orlando pretty well.
Well, I've been there enough, but I had a lot of fun. Did you happen to get over to the wild animal park?
I didn't. I didn't. Um, Tomorrow, I have one more full day tomorrow, and I think we have some friends that are doing Hollywood. So I think
Okay.
there's about 3 or 4 families from New York here that are here. And I think one family has already bought the tickets to the Hollywood park. So I think we all might fall in line and just do that.
Gotcha.
The kids like hanging out together.
I will tell you though, that ride Avatar, that's the best ride in Orlando.
Uh,
I I waited 3 hours in line for that, and everybody in the family thought it was worth every minute.
you didn't do that whole. You know what, Matt? My day at Magic Kingdom, all day, they gave me this card,
Oh, the
this
fast
fast.
pass.
Listen, I was there from.
You don't get those when you get in for free.
Oh, I paid and I got the last pass, and no one explained what that last pass was. So it wasn't until I was there for 4 hours before another family said, "Hey, you could do this with last pass." So I was there for probably 8 or 9 hours, and in the last 3 hours of the trip, I had so much done because I finally realized, oh, you can schedule the ride because they
Exactly.
just gave us the ride. They just gave us the cards when we were going in. I didn't know what the card was for.
Right.
So I wasted 5 hours walking around, in the hot sun, consuming ridiculous amounts of water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
With Avatar, you have to literally do the fast pass months in advance for that ride. There's no same day. Not at all.
so Reef Paul, I don't think he's ever joined my stream because he lives in the UK. He's coming to Orlando on vacation in September, and I think he scheduled his rides like he has his day at the
Yeah.
Disney parks fully booked out 3 months
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
And
That's what
I
you got to
even
do.
the what's the one Incredible? They say that's not. It's like a 2 month. It's booked for the next like month and a half or something. Like it's fully scheduled.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
But that Avatar ride was unlike anything I had ever been on.
all right, next time,
Yeah.
next time, next time. I like it down here. And I have a friend that moved like an hour away in Tampa, so I'm pretty sure this is not the last time we'll be here.
Right. Now, where are you guys staying?
We're at the Grande Villa Diamond Resort.
Oh, okay.
Um, this is, I don't know, there's a couple of other resorts around here, but it's not, you know what? Luckily, it's not too far from everything. Like
Yeah.
the park we went to, Typhoon, it was like a 5 minute ride. To Disney
Gotcha.
Magic Kingdom was like a 15-minute ride. To Worldwide
Okay.
Corals is another 15-minute ride. So luckily enough, I had no input in booking the hotel. My wife booked it, but
Right.
luckily it was in the middle. I don't know if it was pure coincidence or she planned it, but it was in the middle of everything.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I am. It's. You know what? We came. I think we did well by when we got here. We went to Walmart and we bought breakfast and we bought food. So you didn't have to. I think a lot of the
Like a timeshare
expense.
situation.
Yes, but man, you know what? It's funny you say that because they've been trying to invite me to a meeting to try to sell me something, and I assume it's that. But
That's true, but they may give you something if you go.
I tried to go, and they say, since you're here with your wife, they will not allow me to attend the meeting if I don't bring the spouse. I guess they know that
No,
the wife,
it's got to be both of you.
yeah, the wife has the spending power, has the power of authority of everything. So if
Exactly.
she's not there, it doesn't make sense because I'm just going to be, I'm say yes to everything, and then she's going to veto everything. So it
Right.
doesn't.
But you can. The good thing you can get a couple nights. A return vacation out of it a lot of times.
I tried, but my wife, she doesn't want to go. I tried. I
There you
tried.
go. All right.
I tried. I tried. I tried.
Well, you're gonna
Um,
have fun tomorrow. That's for sure. If you're going to Worldwide Corals.
I will. That's going to be my first stop, and then everything else has to fall in line after that.
Yeah.
I'm an early riser, so I will be there early. I think they open at. I told
11.
them yeah, 11. I told them I'd be there first thing when they open.
Yeah.
I think I also sent a follow up message that said, "Hey, if you're there earlier, I'd be happy to get in and look around before."
Yeah. Doubtful.
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 We'll see what
Um. And it's mainly there's so much going on there. That's why I said ask him to, if he'll let you see the 900, because it's in the back where they do all their shipping.
Oh,
so I mean, even on the forums, I was arguing with the guy about the lighting on the 900, and he thought I was talking about he was like talking to me like I was an idiot, because he's like, that tank's not 900 gallons, it's 500. I live in Orlando. I go there all the time. That's my local fish store. And I go in, you don't know that there's a 900 gallon tank there. So, not a lot of people locally get to see that tank.
ooh.
Yeah.
It's okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's in the back behind a door, and then it opens up to a whole nother suite, which is where all the original farm tanks, which I think they're either 8 or 10 feet by 4 feet wide. There's like 4 of them. And that's where they do all of the website sales and ship out there.
Ah, okay.
And then the farm is a whole separate location, a whole different warehouse down the street.
All right.
And that's where they just grow everything.
All right. All right. I definitely want to see that 900.
You definitely want to see the 900. I mean, and if it doesn't work out, I am pretty sure that'll be okay. But if you ever come down for Reefapalooza Orlando, they always do. I mean, basically they let everybody come in and see all that stuff then during that time.
So
and the farm. They always do a party on Monday at the farm.
So Reefapalooza Orlando. So I'm gonna have to think about that. I got so much planned for next year, but the good thing is this was a good vacation. The family enjoyed it, so I think it wouldn't be a hard sell to do.
Yeah, and it's fun. You stay in the hotel, where the show is, especially there, because there'll be. I mean, last year they sold like 700 room nights, so it was like hundreds of reefers all out hanging out, having fun, talking. I mean, you almost take over the hotel. So yeah, it can get pretty fun.
All right. I think that's the same thing you said about Macna, right?
Macna is absolutely the same way. But Macna has things that go day. If you have the full conference pass, you have your things, you have the show during the day, and at night there's always something. So like Friday night will be the cocktail party, and that'll go until like 11 o'clock at night, midnight. And then on Saturday night will be the banquet, where they'll, have a full sit down dinner. They'll have a speaker. That's a whole nother thing that probably goes till like 10 o'clock at night. And that's why I was saying it's not really important that you're far from the strip, because you're probably not really going to leave the area anyway. You're going to be hanging there for the most part, if you're going for the full Macna experience.
So I am not. My wife is looking at me through the window. You know what? My friends have already booked another hotel, so this time at Macna, I'm not going to be staying in the main hotel. Sorry to say, it was just something that was pre-planned. But next time.
You must have got a really good deal, because the deal there was pretty darn good.
I got a good deal. Like, I think, let's just say this. So for work, I travel. So between using my airline points and the deal I got for the hotel, I think the Macna Pass cost me more than actually the entire rest of the trip.
Oh wow, yeah, you got a good deal.
Yeah. So,
well, cool.
They make it. I did a random live stream today when I was at the water park, and they're telling me now that I had something hanging out of my nose, so they're trolling me in the chat. So I'm gonna have to go.
Oh, that's wrong.
I'm gonna have to go make that video private. Thanks, guys.
I don't remember anything hanging out your nose, but then again, I'm looking at it on a little phone. So
yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave it.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
leave it. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna see if I can go in and if YouTube will allow me to put a caption over it, and I'm gonna leave it. You know what? It's
There you
done. It was a spur of the moment thing. It was a water park. I'll take the
It
hit
was
with it.
fun.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun. It was definitely fun. Yeah, Dave, the water park will do that to you. There's nothing. Yeah, I am excited about Magna. Never been, first time, and um, I'm going to be interested to compare it to Reefapalooza. I know you've told me about the differences,
Uh-huh.
but I think I want to do the. I've been to Reefapalooza a number of times, so I want to
Right.
compare it with Reefapalooza. And from what you told me and just doing some research on all the other events, I think there's more. There's a lot more going on in Magna. I
Yeah, I mean, it's strongly focusing on the speakers. It is a conference. That's why it has it in its name. So the speakers are real important. Uh, However, this year they got so many speakers. The speakers are going to actually overlap each other.
saw that.
So you gotta map out which speakers you want to see if you're into the speakers. But as a YouTuber, if you're wanting to see the manufacturers and whatnot, um, as a YouTuber, you're going to have a lot more rain there because there's just not as many people walking the aisles because a lot of them are in the speaker rooms. So
So um, I've already reached out to a few people. Um, Roger Tunzi, is
mm-hmm.
it Tunzi or Tunes?
Tunse,
Tunsa, Tunse.
Tunse.
And I think I'm interested to have a good conversation with Roger, and
Well,
he's agreed to cut.
make sure you actually video record it.
You know what? I you know what? I have to because I sit down and you tend to want to geek
Yep.
out so much. You forget. I told you what happened. I had a great conversation with Terrence. I went to. I don't remember the name of the young lady who was. There's a Magna booth. I had a
Mm-hmm.
good conversation with her. I had so many good with the eCoro controllers with a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I found myself like I walk up to the booth with the camera running, and then I just start talking, and then there's muffled voices, and it's pointing at the floor.
Yep.
And because you just start talking and you start
Exactly.
talking and you just so I have to, but I just I'm going to try. I'm going to try. Um, I'm gonna try. I'm not that comfortable just shoving a camera in someone's face. It's like, hey, you know, but we'll see. I'll try.
Yeah, just give it a try. I mean, let them know that you have a YouTube channel, and want. But like I said, it's so much more relaxed there because there's not as much noise. It's much quieter. You can get some really good interviews in there because so many people are really there for the speakers.
I have been working, so just not necessarily for YouTube or for anything. I've just made it one of my goals for 2018 to try to be a better writer, and it's more than
Oh,
halfway through the year, and it hasn't materialized at all. So I just thought I've been sitting down and I had a bunch of ideas for videos to make.
mm-hmm.
And of course, a lot of these ideas never materialize. But I sit down and I said, hey, maybe if you can put it in an article form.
Yeah.
So one of the things, there's always this debate. We have this debate about, oh, I think you and I were even texting about, the, I hate using the word cheap, but the low cost versus premium equipment. And I was just starting to write something about what I think are the companies with some of the best warranties.
Right.
And I think that's something I always wanted to do. So I've been sitting down and like writing, like, here's my top three. And it's all opinion based. So guys, when it releases, please don't kill me about it. It's just my opinion. It's
Exactly.
just my opinion, and it's just who I've dealt with. So my top three are Neptune, Tunza, and Ecotec.
Yeah. Those are I mean, those are all companies that stand behind their product, and they all have a history of warranting things out of warranty.
Yep. And I know Neptune, one of the guys that really got me into controllers, Tom, he now works for Neptune, but he worked for Manhattan Aquariums at the time. He worked for Joe. But
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the only personal connection I have to any of these companies. So I think that's also something when I talk to people privately about it, I've had a few comments that say, hey, you know people in these companies, so of course they're gonna, but I don't know anyone at Ecotec. I don't know anyone
Right.
at Tunza.
Well, if it makes you
But
feel better, until this year, I didn't know anybody there either. So, I got introduced to one of the owners finally, which was Pat Clayson. And real nice guy. And, when that's the cool thing about when you go to these shows, like I said, if you stay in the hotel, they're all there too. And in the evenings, a lot of them are out there hanging out with you too. You really get to know them.
I've had Ecotec fix so many things for me. I hate saying this publicly because I don't want people to think like they're just going to get whatever they want fixed. But
Right.
I think at this point, if I'm sending anything and they say, no, you have to buy a new one, I think I'll buy a new one happily.
Yeah.
Because they fix so many things. And then the other day, again, Reef Community Worldwide, Paul, in the UK, he had an issue with his lights that were out of warranty, and they fixed it, sent it back to him. So it's not just even a US thing, the fact
Right.
that in the UK, because sometimes you have the support in another country can be completely different, a different experience than what you get here. But the fact that they did it for him, fixed it,
Right.
got it back to him within 2 days, that just put them at number one based on everything else they've done, over the years. I think Neptune Systems, what I like is here in the New York area, I think every major frag swap that I've been to, other than the little garage ones, they've always had a representative. So, there's a guy again, Tom, who lives in the area. So you come to these frag swaps, Tom, and he's the Neptune guy. So whether it's the Manhattan Reefs frag swap or the one in Connecticut, or there's always represented, they always have a booth there. So there is always someone. They're just so visible.
Right.
The visibility.
That's important. That's important to know that a company exists, and that they put their foot out there. I was just on the phone talking with a friend, and we were talking about different exhibitors, and I was talking about how, for instance, Reef Nutrition, who was just on Reef Dudes podcast, and I said they're the only company that has literally been to every single Reefapalooza. 15 years in California, 5 years in Orlando, 3 years in New York. They've been to every single one, even when we were in a backyard. Mm-hmm. So, there's some companies out there that want to put their foot forward and be out there, and answer any questions that any of the users may have. But there's a lot of companies, unfortunately, who would rather stay in the shadows.
I don't want to name some of the bad ones. Some of the guys here know the ones I've had, but that's my top three. I think Tunza, I got to get that right, is the only company where their reputation were so well that when I bought a new pump and it was missing part, when you buy something and you want that new thing, if something's missing in the box, you get frustrated and you want to send it back because you want new. I think I was comfortable. They had such a great reputation that I contacted, instead of contacting BRS, which is they're great. I contacted Tunza Roger immediately, and he sent me all the parts I needed and spares. So they're the only company where I felt comfortable enough getting a new product that was missing parts and still keeping it.
Right.
That's how much I trusted them at the time.
Yeah, no, that's Roger has a reputation that no one really can compare to. So he always takes care of everybody. I always tell people, a lot of people like to quickly self-diagnose whatever their problem is. And I'm always of the attitude of contact Roger. Let him determine what your problem is. Don't sit there and say, "Oh, well, this is what's wrong with it."
He knows the products.
He
Pumps
knows
come with a two-year warranty.
Yeah, no, definitely. But Roger frequently goes outside that warranty. Oh, you still there? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So yeah, he frequently goes outside that warranty.
Well, 2-year pump. So I messaged him because before I finished the article, I wanted to get in. I didn't tell him I was writing the article, but I said, "Hey, I asked him some questions about warranty. 2-year warranty on all their pumps, and the new Tunzi Stream is actually a 5-year warranty."
Correct.
So, that's in the US where 1 year is standard. To get 2 years on all their pumps, that's amazing. I'll take that.
Most definitely.
Most definitely. I have a question from Ash, and Ash. Do I need to support the floor if I put 140 gallon on the main floor of the house? The tank will be sitting on an exterior wall. I would span 3 to 4 joists.
It depends on the footprint. I mean, how much are you spreading it out? I mean, if it's a tall tank, you got a smaller footprint. So, but it's always a good idea with a heavy tank like that. Remember, water weighs probably about 8.5 pounds per gallon because it's got salt. You got your rock. You got the actual glass from the tank. That thing can weigh thousands of pounds, so it's not a bad idea to shore up that floor.
What do you think I think someone told me, I think about a 75 gallon is about the most comfortable you can put without having to worry too much about. He said anything over that. He said a 4-foot 75 is about as big as you can go without worrying about your floor too much. Anything over that.
Yeah. I'd agree.
And
here in Cali, we don't have too many raised foundations, so lucky there.
Oh. Yeah. He said it's a Red Sea. Oh, I like the Red Sea 525. It's 60 inches by 22 inches by 22 high, 22 deep, 22.
Yeah, you know what? He better shore up that floor.
To be honest, if it was me, I had a friend that went to Home Depot and got one of those jacks that literally, and he just had like an engineer come over and just help him. Just, one of those things you put in the basement. He put in the basement and later jack post or something like that. That he then, the guy made sure it was level. And after the guy used it to shore up the floors, he make sure it was level. He came back again after you filled the tank and after the tank was sitting there for a week or two just to make sure everything was still on point. And it wasn't expensive. I think it took a couple $100, but the amount of damage that thing can cost, a couple $100 and a few jack posts is a drop in the bucket.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree 100% on that. It's a beautiful tank, though. And the other thing about the Red Sea, that stand's not made out of cheap particle board, so it's heavy, too.
I put one together myself. In fact, I just drilled one to kind of I just drilled the stand to put something in it. And my gosh, that thing, I always thought it was particle board and then some kind of, I put it together. I should have known that thing was heavy, but I always thought it was particle board. And then it had like a really hard shell, but it's not. When the cross section came out, it was different. Reef Keeper, G. Carroll, what are you munching on over there? Anything off the smoker?
No. No. Got a quesadilla. My wife brought me a quesadilla.
He's making me hungry. He is too. I am actually wet. Oh man, my kids are wet. Man, I'm looking here now. My kids are both. That's how you know they're tired. We're waiting on pizza, and they fell asleep waiting on pizza. So that's how you know when kids are tired.
Yep.
Hey, you wait. Where's this barbecue they're talking about? Are you famous for your barbecue?
I guess people say that.
All right.
I'll
Did
show it
I?
to you. Hold on.
Uh,
Since I'm out here.
oh, that's just. Mm. What are those? Are those different? What are those on the right? Different chambers, different compartments.
So yeah, this top one here is for cold smoking. The next one here is basically a sub chamber of the main chamber. So you got I took it actually has about 3,500 square inches of cooking space, but I only use really 2 racks in the main chamber. And then just let it go.
What is a cold smoker?
So it doesn't get any hotter than 150 degrees. So use it for smoking fish or cheese, which I usually use it for smoking cheese. So
you can smoke cheese.
Yep.
All right. Give me 1 second. Let me my wife is trying to give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, he's making me hungry too. They had a good day passing out for food. Oh yeah, they had a good day. If the kids pass out before they get pizza, yeah, then they had a good day.
Absolutely.
Now I got to go on Reef to Reef and see what this food they're talking about.
Yeah, there's a nice little thread going on where we go on there and share our cooks, things that we make and stuff like that. So
oh, maybe I should share some of the stuff my wife makes. I wish I would say I make, but mostly it's my wife.
is she making it on a smoker or a grill?
No. Oh, it's a smoker only thread?
Well, I mean that's what it is.
All right,
It's titled "What's on Your Grill / Smoker." So,
all right. If it's a smoker only thread, then I'm sorry, I'm out. Yeah,
but it's a good one that gets you hungry. That's for sure.
Yeah. A cold smoker. Never heard of that before.
So, have you ever had like smoked salmon?
I have.
So, there's 2 different types. There's hot smoked, which is actually the salmon seems more cooked, and then there's the other one where the salmon like locks, where the salmon is still mostly raw, with just a hint of smoke on it.
Okay, so I've had
so
both.
That's cold smoking.
Ooh. Oh.
You're getting smoke on it, but you're not getting it hot enough to actually cook it.
I see. Now,
which is what you have to do for cheese.
Do you do much? Okay, so you do much barbecue. You do a lot of barbecue. I guess you're a bar. Where in the U.S. do you go for the best barbecue, in your opinion?
Well, they say Kansas City.
That's where I was going to say. I've done Kansas City. I've done Dallas, Texas. And I love Kansas City.
I say my backyard.
You've never been to Kansas City. You never had some of that Kansas City
You're
barbecue,
right.
have you?
I have not. But what I will say is that on a commercial scale, you can't put the time that I would put into a dish. You can't use the spices that I would use, because when you run a restaurant, the idea is to not offend. You don't want any offensive flavors. You don't want it to be too spicy, because some people may complain. Whereas if it's me, I'm going to spice it to what I like.
What about some of those restaurants that I mean, I see sometimes on TV that they have, you know what? I'm not even going to ask that question because I think I've taken a step back and thinking about it because I've been somewhere in Jamaica and the reviews, people raved about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a jerk chicken place and I went there and it was not great.
Right.
So I guess it was a touristy thing. Everyone raved about it. It was awesome. And the Instagram, Facebook, everyone blew it up. And I went there and I was like, what is this?
Right.
It was not.
And that's just it. You can't go to a barbecue restaurant where you're getting food that was literally just made, rested for the exact amount of time, and cut for you. No, it was made a while ago and it sat until you ordered it. That's just the way it's going to be. It has to be that way. That's the only way to do it. You know, when you're having a brisket that takes 12 hours to cook, you know, they don't know that, oh, well, O's coming in at noon, so let's put this on at midnight or whatnot. So, you know, whereas when you're here, if I say dinner's at this time and dinner's going to be at that time, and you know you're getting the food that was made to be served right at that time. That's the difference.
Hey, Bubba, thank you for that super chat, Bubba. Gatorland or bust?
Is that Bubba Q?
Yeah, Bubba Shinobi. Wait, Bubba, are you on Reef? What's your username on Reef to Reef, Bubba?
I think it's Bubba Q.
Bubba Q. All right.
Yeah.
Dave Nanotanks. Is anyone breaking down a 180-gallon tank in the tri-state area?
Somebody's always breaking one down. Otherwise,
Yeah, I mean,
tank breakers company wouldn't exist.
I have been trying to sell some equipment. And I don't know if it's just a really bad time or it's just slow in our hobby. I know the summers are really slow, but my gosh, it's been really slow.
Yeah, it's not good to sell equipment in the summer unless it's a chiller. And it's a good time to buy equipment at the end of summer.
Dave, I do not. But Dave, the website I would try is manhattanreefs.com. That is for people in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. I will keep an eye out for you. I had a little bit of a scraper that used to be able to parse the sales section of Manhattan Reefs and just send me an email and a text message when it detects certain keywords. And I think they blocked the script and I never bothered updating it. If I was a website administrator and I saw like a script, it uses resources, so I can understand why but that's one of the ways I used to be one of the first people to message you when you had equipment for sale, because I would just have something out for Ecotec XR15 and my script would pull the website like every 30 seconds. So cheater. As soon as someone, I know. Yeah. Hey, Dave, I'll keep an eye out for you. I will. 180. Dave, are you looking to go that big now? It's amazing how when we sometimes get bigger tanks, we always say, oh, that's big enough for us. We're good. And then a few months later or a year later, when we've grown out that tank or you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I should have gone bigger. So I don't know if that's 180 is for Dave, but I remember when Dave his username is still Dave's Nanotanks. So you can imagine at one point he had 10 and 20-gallon tanks. Now he has 100 he built himself, and he's looking to do a 180. So that's a big change. That's a big jump.
Absolutely. Look into one of those Red Seas. Those are nice tanks.
Those are nice tanks.
And water box aren't too bad either, though.
You know what I also like about, love or hate, depending on who you ask. Red Sea apparently, I think, monitors the forums, especially that huge thread that's in the Red Sea reefer on Reef to Reef, because a lot of the stuff that, that thread is hundreds of pages long with users doing mods to the tank, like modifying the sump, modifying the tank itself, modifying the plumbing. And it just so happens that a lot of times some of the most popular modifications that users do, Red Sea releases them as products. So whether
Yep.
you can, so it depends on your point of view. I kind of respect them for looking at what users want, but some users obviously say, "Oh, they're just copying." So it depends on how you look at it.
Hey, they should look at it as I came up with a good idea.
But
Be flattered.
the sums, a user, someone in New York, in the Bronx, New York, texted me, messaged me on Facebook and said, "Hey, I bought a Red Sea Reef for $350," and he sent me pictures of his tank, and his sump layout is complete. Like, I think I've done 3 renovations on my sump and then got rid of the Red Sea sump and bought something custom. And I think what I got custom now that I'm happy with is what he now gets. It's I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. It is what it is.
It's an evolution. I
Yeah.
mean, it's no different than a Radeon Gen 1, 2, 3, or 4.
I'm a technology guy, so I never get mad unless I buy it and then something comes out a week later, but I never get mad.
Right.
Dave said he needs a 6x2x2. Okay, Dave. I'll keep an eye out for you, Dave. I definitely will. I definitely will keep an eye out for you, man. If you're looking for a 180, I'm pretty sure there's someone. Man has a I think I can ask for you and see what the manager has, but I know they have a lot of tanks sitting around. So I'll ask for you. I'll ask around for you, Dave. No worries.
Wait a minute. Why is
someone
Dave
is
in the
what?
chat? He's got every ability to be on this stream.
I'm pretty sure if Dave could jump in, he would.
Like he has something else to do.
Hey, it is 10
Just
o'clock.
playing.
It is. It's 10 o'clock here.
It's still daylight here.
Yeah, I see it.
Although we haven't had much daylight because there's fires going on all over the state. So
that is also something that I absolutely. I don't know if it's the same thing in California, but the days just seem longer here. I don't know if it's a summer thing, but the days I looked at, the shortest days in New York, I think, are in the winter, and where sometimes sun sets at about 4:05 p.m. And I think in Florida, the shortest day it sets at about 6:05. So they get about an extra 2 hours of daylight. 2 hours of daylight extra on our shortest days.
right.
in Florida versus New York, and that adds up a lot, man. And just being here for a week, things just seem slower.
Here's Dave.
How you doing, Dave?
Good. Okay. I was texting, trying to watch a movie, but all right.
I called him out, I guess.
Hey, I got to show up. So yeah, on a good note, if anybody wants to make bubble tip anemone split, feed them mollies.
Oh, really?
Oh man,
I had a refugium tank, with a lot of macroalgae in it, and I've been putting the bubble tips in there. And in there are freshwater mollies that I acclimated to saltwater because they clean up algae, but they don't eat macroalgae. They're the perfect fit.
Right.
The problem is they don't know what an anemone is, so they swim right into them.
Oh, yeah, that's
freshwater fish. But it seems like every time it eats one, it splits. So it's kind of profitable.
Yeah.
Dave. Now you know why I set up. Now you know why I set up a separate anemone tank, So hopefully, it'll be a lot easier to get them to split and probably sell and collect some really exotic ones. I'm now trying to find, I have a few pieces of rock. I haven't really aquascaped the tank yet, but I'm trying to find some pieces of rock that, because if you're going to propagate them and then sell them, you need them. You can't put Pocani in that tank because they can anchor deep into Pocani. So I need some pieces of flat shelf, sort of like what you aquascape the tank with, Greg, like those flat pieces of rock.
That's some good stuff, man.
In a box of stacks. You're down by Julian. Say, Julian, hook me up with a box of stacks.
Stacks. What kind of? Listen, tell us about that aquascape. He sent me a picture, Dave. He has a build going on, and I think it was one afternoon, a couple hours.
And just on Friday. On Friday, I think I texted you and said we were getting ready to do it, and a couple hours later, I sent you the final picture. But I had Joe Caparata from Unique Corals. He also owns Manhattan Aquariums. When we were at Reefapalooza, New York, I said I wanted to use that Marco shelf rock, and I said, and I want you to aquascape it. So he said, you feed me and get me beer, I'll come by. So fired up the smoker, made some ribs.
Ooh.
Joe showed up, and we laid out the rock like we wanted to. We did take a time lapse video, and I think he's going to do that on the Unique Corals channel. But yeah, he did an amazing aquascape. I can't say that there's an aquascape I would rather have than the one that's in my tank. I've seen a lot of aquascapes out there. It came out pretty nice.
That's great, because usually as soon as you're done with yours, you see one you like better.
Yeah. This is just unique in a whole different way. What he did is he used all shelf rock for the entire tank. Instead of normally you see people, they'll do the boulder and then a piece of shelf sitting on top. He didn't do that. And it just came out amazing. Give me a second. I'll go in the house and show you guys. But I think the kids are watching TV.
Fishy Snowman has a 25-gallon lagoon tank set up with all the shelf rock, and he's doing all Zoes on it, and it looks really cool. I don't know which rock it is, but it looks like the stacks,
So this is a 250-gallon tank. So the dimensions are 62 inches by 36. That's the footprint, and it's 27 tall.
Nice.
That's nice. Now, do you have any idea how many pounds of rock that is?
It's only about 200.
Only?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty dense rock, to be honest with you.
It is.
But this is almost all of it. It's the new shelf rock that they make.
Well, if you do it right, it'll all be covered in coral anyway.
Exactly. And he hid. I mean, there's a few places where you can see the cement, but for the most part, most of the cement is out of view.
So do you use the powder that you mix with the water?
Yep. The Marco E-Cement E400.
Okay.
Is that very similar to the Nio cement?
I have no idea. I am not familiar with the Nios. But basically, behind this main structure, I plan on putting a couple of Tunzi Stream 3s. And since I have a trapezoid overflow, we designed the rock so that it'll kick when they're blowing. It'll kick the water all the way around the rockscape.
Uh-huh.
So it should make a real nice gyre in there.
From what I can see, I really don't see any cement. So
yeah, there's a little bit. I mean,
yeah,
like right there.
Oh, you know what? It cures like the Nio cement.
Yeah.
But the outer, the color.
Yeah.
But you're right. Once
them there.
Coral, you're going to put coral there, so that's going to be
right.
And then coralline algae.
Correct.
Joe. I know, Joe, you want to come in? I got a link if you do.
Are you going to go bare bottom?
Well, I'm going to start off bare bottom, and we'll see. I'm a sand guy, but that's the only round rock in the entire aquascape. Everything else is shelf.
Oh, okay. Now that you're getting in close, I can see the cement, but it's not a horrible thing.
No.
And it's got a texture to it. It's not like there's one perfectly smooth, part of cement.
Right. So yeah, it came out better than I could have imagined. So
when is that tank going to be wet?
Hopefully coming here in September.
September?
Yeah.
So what's left, to get it wet?
The sump.
The sump.
That's important.
So once the sump comes, it should be pretty easy because the sump's already pre-plumbed.
What's up, Carlos?
Hey, Carlos. I'm now stuffing my face, so excuse me, guys.
That's all right.
So yeah, Vertex contacted me and told me it is on its way. It's on the custom sheet, so it will be here in the next couple of weeks. It'll have to go through customs, and then I just got to get it from there to here.
This is going to be an epic build.
It should go pretty quick once I have everything. That's the good thing.
Right.
I mean, realistically, all I need to do is connect the drains and connect the return for the most part. I mean, the sump has everything. It's got the built-in skimmer. I mean, the Vertex sumps are pretty complete. It's kind of like it's already plumbed. You don't have to really do anything. No assembly required.
I've seen one of those super sumps in person.
Yeah. Well,
So how do you plan on cycling it? Are you going to use bottle bacteria?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'll use, I had never set up a tank. Well, number one, I haven't set up a tank in 14 years. So my big SPS tank was, 14 years ago when I set it up. And, when I tore it down, I didn't have a tank for 3 years. So, now, I set up this about 6 months ago. I set up this 25-gallon nano tank, and I wanted to experiment because, I hear all the negative things about setting up a tank with dry rock, and the reality is, we're going to have to learn to make dry rock work because that's what we're getting now. We're not, gone are the days of true live rock. So I did a little experimenting. I, talked with Dr. Tim. I mean, luckily, I have all these contacts here in Southern California.
Right.
So we came up with a plan, and I told him. He says, "Okay, so when do you want the tank to cycle?" And it was like on Monday, and I said, "Well, I'm going to go buy fish on Saturday." So he told me what I needed to do. I followed the instructions, and on Saturday I put livestock in it. So
there you go.
It's been fine. Now I did do a couple of things that other people haven't done, and a little unconventional, I think. I went to my buddy Steve Garrett. He has a outdoor coral farm, about 3,000 gallons outdoor coral farm, and this tank has been up and running for about 20 years. So we went into his sump and he cut out pieces of various species of sponge.
Cool.
I put the sponge in a little glass dish and set it in my sump. That sponge is now about tripled in size.
Cool.
I kind of feel that any mature tank seems to have sponge, and it serves a purpose of filtering water. But when you start with a dry rock, you don't get that sponge that you would have gotten from if you were to start with live rock. So I did that, and I haven't had, I got bottled pods. I also got pods from my buddy Steve, a few pods from my buddy Steve, but I mainly did the bottled pods, and everything's been going well.
Yeah. Gulf Coast Ecosystem has a nice variety of sponges too available.
Okay.
For sale?
Yeah. The place where I got all the macroalgae, they have all kinds of sponges there.
I'll have to check.
Live-plants.com, I think it is.
Hey, Greg, I thought you said
Yeah.
you did another YouTube channel.
No, I said I didn't stream.
Oh. We're playing with words here.
I didn't realize people did these live shows on YouTube until I stumbled across yours and DC's.
I found your YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah, Lisa posted in the chat a few people wanted to subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep getting these messages that people are subscribing. So actually, I've probably doubled my people that have subscribed just in the last couple of months. So a lot of the people that I see in the chat and so forth. So thank you guys.
Lives will do that for you.
But yeah, no, I have fun with these shows, and my goal has always been to help people out. I don't like to, back when I came up, it was really hard to learn how to keep a reef. The best of the best guys would keep secrets. They didn't tell you everything. So you kind of had to piece it together. And I'm like an open book. I'll tell anybody anything I'm doing because I want everybody to
like
succeed.
that somehow. It's a little bit like that sometimes here.
Oh, it absolutely is. But I'll be honest with you, and this is what I see. Most of the best, their reefs are simple. They're not overcomplicated.
Uh-oh. What are you saying?
I'm just saying that some people are their own worst enemy.
Right.
Oh, like me? Oh, look.
Not necessarily you. Your tank's doing
No.
fine.
Listen.
But I'm saying
I'm just because he's very technical with his tank.
No. Listen, the one thing I am honest with myself. I'm very honest with myself. But I think I've changed and experimented with. I think that's one of the reasons I actually set up the nano tank, Dave. Is if I didn't want to mess around with stuff, I'll try to mess around with the nano tank. But I think Dave really kind of the other day he kind of even put everything in perspective. He said, "Man, when you first came on these live streams and you had a Zeovid tank, it was looking good." And I started the tank. I started Zeovid, and I was on Zeovid for a year, and everything went well. And the minute I decided to start changing and swapping stuff, it just went downhill and never recovered. So
I just said it never looked as good as it did when you were on Zeovid.
it's all right. No, Dave, I didn't take it to heart. It just had me stop and think, and I started spelling out just all the changes I've done for the last 2 summers. It's been 4 light changes, 4 skimmer changes, 2 chiller changes, 3 method changes, 2 Aquascape changes. So it's just been, a bunch of different changes, 3 or 4 doser changes.
Well, you know what the secret to Zeovid is, right?
It strips everything out and puts in what you want.
No. The fact that you constantly have to look at your tank. You constantly have to interact with your tank.
Oh, gotcha.
That's like a reefer's best friend.
Oh,
You know, because you start to know and recognize when things are going well and when things aren't going well, and you react to it quicker because you're always looking at the tank.
I also think, yes, I believe you. And I think Ryan alluded to that in one of his videos.
He did.
And I think because Zeovit is a method, one of the things is it's a method. And I find that especially on the Zeovit forums, if you stick to the Zeovit method, because it's something that's been around, I think even Triton might be going through a little of that now, where it's at least to the US market, it's relatively new. So some of the issues we find, maybe there's people that haven't encountered that issue yet. But the thing is, Zeovit has been around so long that I find that when I had an issue with Zeovit, they have like a long questionnaire. They're like, answer this questionnaire. And usually a bunch of people chime in within a day or two about reduce this. Like the advice is very, very specific. Like
Right.
it's not sometimes when someone here and someone says, oh, my acro is dying, you know, then there can be a bunch of things. But if you have something happening with Zeovit tank and you can track the history and said, I did this and I increased this, the answer, I find that the answers to the Zeovit question were a godsend because they were so specific. Right. They said, reduce this by this dosing per day for a month and then up it again. Do this to get rid of the cyanobacteria because with this, start changing out this instead of every 6 weeks, every 4 weeks now. So that was very comforting that there wasn't this open-ended question where, in my opinion, I think your alk is too low. I think you're running this too high. It was so specific. So when you got that answer from one of the guys on the Zeovit forum, zeovit.com, you knew exactly what you had to do. There was no maybe this and this. And even if the answers are always slightly different, but they weren't that way off. Maybe someone was saying dose something more than the other, but it was very specific. Like one person might say dose 3 mils instead of 4 mils, but it was very specific. And I think that was, as a reefer, that was very comforting to know that things were so specific. And if you needed help, there was specific advice you could get.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to use Zeovit on this new tank for, you know, it's my first time.
What?
Yeah.
You're using Zeovit.
But you also got to realize I'm kind of lucky because Vertex is the distributor of Zeovit and they're right here in my backyard.
Yep.
So
and don't make the mistake I did. Get a good Zeovit reactor. I think that's the one mistake I made with Zeovit. I ended up going for the cheaper Skims reactor, which ended up causing me a lot of problems because it was so hard to pump versus if I had just spent an extra $150 and would have gotten the magnetic KZ reactor, it would have made my life a lot easier.
Well, because I'm like that, it's going to match. So it'll be the Vertex. So,
that's nice.
I've seen the KZ ones. I would like to design. I don't know why they haven't done this, but I mean, I'm going to talk to him. I would like to see a Zeo reactor where literally it used a DC pump, and instead of shaking the pump, there would be a period of time that you would boost the output of the pump to shake the rocks, and then turn it back down.
That Avast Marine was.
Oh, they've done that?
Loud. No, they haven't. Oh. The one you get that it shakes is, I think it's from Avast Marine, and it is, it jumps you out of your sleep.
Yeah, see, I don't want one. I don't want one that actually shakes. I just want it to up the flow so that it fluidizes the rock for a little bit, and then it all settles back down, and tomorrow it does it again. You know, it just seems an easy, especially since we have controllers and whatnot that we can program that.
Could even be a multi jet on a timer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be a second pump, but I'm saying with DC pumps, you can run it on speed 1, because they don't need a whole lot of flow. And then, hey, for 2 minutes, it turns up to speed 6.
Gotcha. Shakes it up in there.
Shakes the rocks up and blows all the stuff, I can't remember what that stuff's called. But the
zeolite.
Not the zeolite, the mulm. Blows all the mulm off, and then it goes back down to going slow again, and you don't have to touch it.
You know what? That's something that now you have me thinking, and that actually shouldn't be something that's so hard. So imagine the way like a Vertex Omega, like the 150 or 130 are, where the pump, comes into near the bottom, and then it's an upflow reactor. Like imagine if you had a Vectra stuck to the side, and it runs at 1% during the day, and then other, like you say, for 2 minutes it goes to 80%, like a Vectra M1. And then also, another thing I like about the Xerox, Dave, is there's a lot of different sizes. There's small, there's big, so it'll be easy. So the biggest pieces, you don't have to move them per se, but because you're moving all the smaller pieces around it, it'll just collide with it and probably fluidize it and, get the mulm off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask Vertex to think about that design. Real close with the owner. So, and they are coming out with DC pumps. So, they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The one, let me not say the one. At the time when I got off of Zeovid, I was gonna take a job or looking at a job where there was potential for a lot of travel, and I wish there was more instructions on maybe the Zeo stuff was able to. You can put it on a doser.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff you can put on a doser, like I got conflicting information there. I know for a fact that if you dose it by hand, it works because the 1 drop, 2 drops here. Some of the stuff they said, hey, if you dilute it, but when I diluted, even with RO water, I got some white film. You know that white when you carbon dose, sometimes you get this white thing built up.
Yep.
Excuse me. I got it in the containers itself.
Right.
When I diluted it with RODI water. But I don't know if I'll ever do Zeovid again, maybe, but I think it's the best version of my tank I've ever seen. And I was an overstock tank, and it worked well. I think it all went to heck when I went on a business trip. I went on a trip and I came back, and the tank like
your wife.
My wife. Yeah, I did the blue Zeo thing, like you said. And that's when my heart sank, because then they were Zeo back, Zeo start, Zeo food, Zeo something. They were all Zeo something.
Right.
My heart sank. And I was like, oh, God, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Believe me, Dave, they're in all. I told her, dose the blue Zeo bottles.
I know. I heard this story. It sounds worse every time you tell it.
Yep.
My heart sinks.
Greg, Ash is asking, that's a Starfire glass on your new tank.
Sure it is.
Okay. What brand is that?
It's just as Starfire as my last tank, which everyone loved because the corals look great. No, it's not Starfire. It's regular glass, half inch. The tank is an AGE. Was it Acrylic and Glass Exhibits is the company. They're out of Dallas, Texas. I don't believe in necessarily needing a Starfire tank until you get to that 5/8, 3/4 size. Main reason why I'm like that, because I feel that if your corals really look hot, nobody's going to notice the glass. They don't care. They don't notice. They don't notice wires in the tank. They don't notice flow pumps. They don't notice anything but colorful corals if your corals are colorful. Now, when you have a bunch of chocolate sticks, yes, they notice every flaw that you have.
There you go.
So, how many people look at Sanjay's tank and say, "Oh, he doesn't have a tank's skin around his stand. His lights are, all exposed. Nobody cares. It's the corals. Wow, look at
I have
them."
a heater in my tank. Nobody seems to mind, though.
Yeah. So, as long as your tank looks good, I don't think you have to worry.
No.
All right. That's true. Although I don't know, there's something when I look at it and like, Starfire.
Yeah, if you're buying,
it's only like that. It's only like that though, if it's something that attracts your eye. You're gonna notice it when that's all there is to notice. So yeah, when my tank is new, when it first starts off, it may have looked better with Starfire, but once I get the corals popping, not gonna notice. I promise.
gotcha.
Even with the regular glass, that green tinted glass, you're telling me, you're saying that.
I've never. If there's anybody who saw my previous tank is listening right now, they're probably in shock because I told them it was Starfire.
It wasn't Starfire?
No, they thought it was Starfire, so I wasn't going to disappoint them.
Oh, man.
I built my tank out of 1/2-inch glass, so when I got it from a store in Manhattan, so they were using it as shelves. So when you look at it all stacked up, 6 pieces of glass, you can tell how green it is. But through one piece of 1/2-inch glass, you really only see the green on the edges. That's why.
Wait, Dave, your tank is not Starfire glass?
No, it's probably 30-year-old shelves from Stewart in the city.
What am I paying for then, Dave? Because when I came and saw the tank, I thought it was Starfire glass.
That's what G's saying, that unless it's thick, and when I got black silicone, so you don't see the edges of it.
Exactly. I had one guy who had a Starfire tank, and he's like, "Oh, is this Starfire?" And he looked it up and down. He's like, "Man, I love Starfire tanks." And I'm sitting here going, "Well, if you can't tell the difference and you have one, yeah, it's Starfire. Isn't it beautiful?" I mean, that's just the way I rolled with those guys. I mean, if they couldn't tell, then why was I gonna be their dream crusher?
You know what? I think you're right on the money. If you go and you're seeing a tank, like when I was looking at Dave's tank, I was amazed with the growth he was getting from his corals, that I didn't focus on the glass at all. The only way I focus on the glass is because I had saw him, David, absolutely like a few weeks before, and you were telling me, "Oh, I don't want to blow up any spot, but you were basically telling me, we were going through some of the specifics of you building your tank, and you were comparing it to something that fish store built, So that's why I was paying attention to your silicone, and I was like, yeah, this is better than the one we saw. But I thought you were using Starfire glass because it just...
No, I was at a job. They were throwing out shelves because they were remodeling a store that's been there since 1920.
And you repurposed it.
Yeah.
I said, "We're throwing that away. I can make a fish tank out of that."
There you go.
Yeah. When you go to see a nice tank, you're not looking, you focus on the corals so much,
Exactly.
You never look at the...
Yeah, so that's what I can never say his name. Dicanthus Reef. He's saying, 1/2-inch or more, you notice the Starfire.
Mm-hmm. I think
are red sumps Starfire glass? Even the sumps?
I have no idea.
And
they may not technically be Starfire. Remember, Starfire is a brand name, kind of like Coke.
Right, low iron. I know.
Yeah, so
I know where you're going with that. But
and there's different degrees of that too.
O gave me his sump because he upgraded his sump, and I took all the baffles out of it, and I was using it for a little. It's about a 27-gallon tank, really, when you take all the baffles out, and it looked really good. I was wondering if that's Starfire.
You know what? I seriously think that the Red Sea sump is ridiculously heavy, and I think they just use the same thickness glass that makes the display
Yeah.
on the sump. Which
It is a heavy sump.
I remember when I was taking it out, I said, "My gosh!" There was a guy helping me empty it, and he was like, what is this made of?" And I think the same glass thickness of the display, I think they just use it to make the sum. So it's incredibly well built, over engineered.
In the end, it's easier to use the same glass. You're buying from one supplier,
right? A sheet of glass.
You know,
sheets and sheets.
Yeah.
And most of their tanks really aren't that tall, so it probably doesn't need to be much thicker.
Yeah, I know my Nano, my Vitria, the sump is also Starfire.
Yep.
You know, because I don't think they made a regular glass tank at all, so they might as well just use the same glass for everything.
Right. Well, Revo 13 said water box aquarium sumps are Starfire too, so it makes sense. Like you said. It's not like Aqueon. They don't even know what kind of glass they got that week.
Exactly.
It's tempered. We don't know.
You know what? That is crazy how they can't tell. You call them because you want to drill a tank, and they're like, "We don't know." That pissed me off so much.
They told me to watch a video on YouTube, so I made.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's literally. I thought people were joking when they said that, but I wanted to drill like a 50 breeder, and they said, "We don't know what type of glass. We can't tell you." I said, "I have a serial number or something." Yeah, they said, "We don't track batch numbers, so we can't really tell you."
I have the email. They said it depends what glass we have on hand. And knowing that, when I go to the $1 per gallon sale, I bring my phone and some polarized glasses. And the weirdest combinations show up. It's like a 20 high, the bottom and the back or front, you know, depending on which way you're looking at it, is tempered.
Oh.
So if you just pick it up and assume, oh, somebody once told me all 55s, it's only the bottom. No, that's not the case.
Yeah, it's whatever they felt like using. That's crazy.
So learn how to test before you drill.
Did you see the video?
You dig? You ever see that?
Yeah.
There is a guy though. I think he was on. He hasn't been on our live streams anymore. But remember, he did a video. Is it Mike Lemming?
No,
I don't want to call it
Paul Blaney.
Paul Blaney. Oh, he was drilling a tank, and it was tempered and it shattered. And he said I told a client that it could be, and he said they wanted him to try anyway. And it was, I think he drained it. It was still full, still had livestock.
And I think he blew the side out of a 125. That's what happened.
Wow. And I think he said they had other tanks, so they were able to just pick up the livestock and put it in other tanks. But it was still watching him drill, and then like a third of the way through, the entire thing just disintegrated, and the water just. You know what? There was actually a second. If you pause the video right, there's a second where you see the glass shatter, and the water still held the box shape before the water realized, like, oh, there's nothing. You know, like cartoons. When if you keep running and you don't look down, you don't realize there's nothing under you. I think it took a second for the water to realize, like, oh, there's nothing holding me up. Maybe I need to, you know. That was funny.
Yeah, I gotta look for that video. Is it still on YouTube?
I don't know. He would be now. His channel name is Reefing with Reefer.
Okay.
So
is that who that is?
Yeah, that's Paul Blaney. He just got a new 700 gallon, I think, 500 gallon. I forget what it is. It's huge.
Oh man, sometimes people change names, and I'm sorry, I just lose track of the names. But Reefing with Reefer.
Yeah, he wasn't on YouTube for a while. He took a break.
All right.
He got busy with work, but now that he has the new build, he's been doing it a lot.
It's kind of funny how you don't realize how much 125 gallons of water is. How much water there is until it's on the floor.
And you hear in the video, get a towel. I was like, a towel?
Yes! That was the funniest part. Oh, somebody said, get a towel. I'm like, yeah. It's not on his channel anymore. I don't know if he made it.
Well, I remember the date, and it might have been a Facebook video, but we were all at Reefapalooza, and it wasn't this year. It was last year. So it was Reefapalooza 2017 when he did it.
Wow.
Because Rico came out and said, "Do you see what Paul did?"
I can hear him saying that too.
100-gallon aquarium. Explosion. Epic fail. 20,000 views.
Wow.
I think
Well,
I'm drill 20,000 views. I'm gonna go drill my tank. Shit. No.
Wow. One of my club members had his tank blow out, a 450 gallon. The entire front panel blew off at one time.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching it. My bad.
Oh, no problem.
Watching him drill. Oh, Loki found it. That's what he posted in there.
Oh man, get a towel.
Nice.
Save the Xbox. Get my Xbox also, or somebody said.
Nice.
I guess it was on the floor.
That's one of the reasons why I chose the AGE, because I did not want anything to happen. And those things are over-engineered for sure.
Right.
It's got, water's got to go through an awful lot of silicone to get out. So,
Is it rimless?
It is not rimless. Effectively, it is rimless. So the AGE tanks have the PVC bottom.
Gotcha.
So the PVC bottom is routered, and the side glasses go down into that router joint. But then there's also an angle iron, stainless steel angle iron around the base.
Nice.
So basically, your side panels fit in a U of silicone. So 3 sides are siliconed.
That's
so
nice.
it's for water to get out of those seams, it's got to go a long ways. 3 times the distance of normal. And then at the top, it also has the angle iron. Now, my tank has about a 3-inch Euro bracing all the way around, but it's not really a structural Euro brace. It's just an acrylic, a piece of acrylic Euro brace there. And because when we have earthquakes, tanks get to sloshing.
Yeah, I bet.
And when you have a rimless tank,
Oh, tell me about it.
if the water sloshes 1 inch high above that 1-inch tank, and your tank is 3 feet wide like mine is, that might be 15 gallons.
Yeah,
and then it's going the other way, and maybe 10 gallons, and then it's coming back and maybe 7 gallons. I mean, this is what happens. So the Euro brace will kick the water back into the tank.
Yes.
Unless it's a really strong earthquake, which who the hell cares at that point?
Yeah, on the floor.
Even little everyday tasks sometimes, like cleaning the glass with like a Tunzi magnet, when it's rimless, it can get annoying sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, the mag can give you a wake, like a boat wake behind them if you move too quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've learned some tricks over the 6 months that I've had the rimless Nano Cube, but yeah, no, that it is nice to have that trim, and you really can't see it because the angle iron, the white stainless steel angle iron, covers it anyway, so you don't even really know it's there.
Right.
I have a question from AL. How do big tanks hold up in earthquakes? Can the glass withstand a quake, or will the twisting break the glass?
I guess you would.
All depends on the stand.
Yep.
Oh, it depends on the stand.
To have this and take a twist.
Yeah, I have a steel stand made out of 2-inch box steel, and it's a pretty heavy gauge. My buddy Ivan is a mobile diesel truck mechanic, so he's a fabricator by trade, and he makes a lot of the steel stands for people in our in our club, and they are over-engineered. I mean, he uses really thick box steel because that's what he has on hand. Because if he's got to fabricate something out on the field, he's going to do it. So yeah.
All right. I never thought about the stand. I always thought it was just all about the aquarium.
Yeah, no, all it takes is for the stand to flex, and that flexing along with that twisting of the glass or extra pressure on the glass along with the pressure of the water inside can cause it to fail.
Oh. Ooh.
Glass don't bend.
Glass don't bend.
That might be an argument for acrylic tanks. I mean, I know seams could break, but...
And they do. I mean, we saw that guy in Canada, his 1,400-gallon tank blew a seam.
Oh, I didn't see that.
There was a guy in Toronto. He had a nice L-shaped tank, and I think it was Peter's Fish Tank was his website.
Okay.
And
is that I think I saw Leo Pozzo did Leo Pozzo does some interesting videos on YouTube, and I think he interviews someone who had an L-shaped tank years ago in Toronto.
Yeah, it was him.
That's the guy.
He got pretty famous. He did a lot of videos, YouTube videos, and
check the chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
DFW Reaper just dropped a super chat. Thank you. Sorry to cut you off, Greg.
Oh, no
I just
problem.
want to say thank you.
That's always get you cut off.
But yeah, I mean, he had this tank. It was actually built by the guys who do the show Tanked.
Okay.
ATM, and it split a seam and ruptured, and 1,350 gallons on the floor.
And then there's Farm Boy Reef. What was that? 700 gallon? It was glass.
Ooh.
Yeah.
700 gallons, and it was on the first floor, and everything. His whole little laboratory was on the first floor or the basement underneath it.
Oh.
It all
rolled ruptured.
Yeah. I think he made the tank himself. Knock on wood. Be the one that
was it acrylic?
No, it was glass.
It was glass. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I mean, nobody with my friend saw his when his 450 let loose, but literally the whole front glass panel, 8 feet by 30 inches, was sitting on his sofa.
Wow.
When he came home, and water was coming out of everywhere of the house when he pulled up coming back from dinner.
So the silicone failed.
The silicone was not prepped properly.
Was not prepped?
Because it was not prepped. They didn't prep it properly. So the entire panel came off with the silicone still attached.
Ooh.
The silicone did not rip.
Didn't get a good adhesion, right?
They did not get a good adhesion.
Well, either the glass wasn't clean or...
And there was a lawsuit, and he won.
Well, wait a second. I'm trying to understand. Oh, so Dave, you just said maybe
either
it wasn't
clean, or they laid the bead down and the guy went and smoked a cigarette instead of putting the next panel on it, and then came back and it wasn't, it was starting to set up before they put the panels together.
Right.
There's a bunch of things that could have happened, but it didn't stick to both pieces of glass.
Oh,
correct.
And silicone doesn't stick to silicone either. So if he did a seam and then wiped it out and that started to set up and then tried to put more in, you can't do that.
Yeah. In all my time, I mean, I've heard of a seam rupturing, but not the entire panel just completely blowing off in one piece.
Yeah, that is kind of. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that. Of all the fish tank disaster videos I've watched, and I've watched many.
Yeah,
I don't.
It just ruptures and a whole lot of water rushes out.
Yeah.
This literally the entire front panel was on the sofa, 4 feet away.
Yeah, that's poor workmanship somewhere. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So he has an AGE
Wow. Of course.
We're all gonna have a nightmare tonight that our tank spot.
I know. I hope my wife isn't listening. Gosh, because geez, she's gonna I just hope she isn't listening. I might make this one private for it'll.
Smaller tanks, less pressure.
No, not for this tank. I'm talking about for the
for
dream
later.
build, for the dream build.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So on another note, which would be good time to change the subject. When you go to Worldwide Coral tomorrow, can you live stream a little bit?
Yeah, I will try. That's the plan.
Because, if I see something I like, you can send it home and I'll get it off you.
All right.
I
spoke to Lou at when I was at Reef Palooza, and I said, hey, I'm going to be flying home, so and he said, absolutely, you can buy stuff, pay for it there, and we will ship it to you when you get home.
Right. So since you're already shipping, I might as well get a coral.
We can do that. Just to let you know that when I get home Saturday, I am not going to. I'm going to be flying out to Memphis like the Sunday morning.
No, that's fine.
All right.
They can stay there as long as they stay there. That's not a problem. And then when you get, give me a buzz. I'll come over and get it.
All right. All right. Sounds good. Yep.
I'm telling you, both of you guys need to come to Reef Palooza in Orlando.
Why? Why is it better than New York? Just say why.
Double the coral sales.
Double
the coral sellers. Excuse me.
Ooh,
yes.
In Orlando, why is it double the coral sellers?
I don't know. Orlando and California have the most coral sellers, but there's a lot in Orlando. A lot of coral sellers in Orlando that don't travel outside the area, so you don't really get exposed to them. California is the same way. There's a lot of coral sellers in California, because remember, most of the wholesalers are here. So
I had a lot
of these guys
overload in New York. I don't think I need to go to Orlando.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, Greg. One thing I will say about the Reef Palooza California show, because as someone I go to the Reef Palooza New York show. There's so many. Whether it's YouTubers or people, we're there, and we post a lot of pictures on Instagram. Yep. I don't know why, but the California shows don't get the same amount of social media.
I can tell you why. I have figured it out. All of you YouTubers are on the East Coast. And the reason I say I figured it out is by seeing how many of you took a break because it was summer. That don't happen here in California. It's like this all year round.
Right. Southern California, at least.
Right. So you guys, winter comes around and you guys are locked in the house, or you know what? You guys aren't just out and about. When winter comes around and you're still doing these live streams, I'll probably still be sitting outside on here chatting with you guys. It's different here, and there's just not a lot of the YouTubers just aren't based here, so it's a long trip. And I mean, think about it. Your most active YouTubers, the guy Reef Dudes, he's in Canada.
Seasonal.
DIY, same thing. He's in Canada. Most of you guys are based in New York, the tri-state area. That's where all those guys are. I mean, I don't know of any here in California. Do you?
I know of a couple, but not real active.
Yeah, they don't make videos. Like, we know a lot of people here. Like, Reef Keeper is in even Billy Pipes, the guy, who organizes these we call them store crawls, and Billy and Dave does that. We're all on the East Coast, New Jersey.
Right.
Hey, you know what? When is Reefapalooza, California?
October 6th and 7th.
Oh, jeez. Great. Oh, it's gonna be really hard for me to get out there
Well,
for another show after Machina. But the only positive news I say at this point, I'm not gonna rule it out.
Okay. Yeah, don't rule it out. You can always book your room and cancel it later.
Are you going to be home on the 18th though of this month?
Broke up there. What did you say?
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to load email. So, are you going to be home on the 18th of this month?
Me? I'll tell you what dates.
Because that's the big deal at Absolute. That's their annual. Their big.
Oh, I see. So I am going to get back on the Saturday the 11th. I'm flying out. Listen, I am going. Guess what? I am flying back that day, and I land in New York.
Huh.
So I will be literally right there.
Gotcha.
So, you know what? We'll talk. I'll shoot you a text offline, but
Okay.
might be able to.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to load email. I know I'm probably breaking up.
Actually, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing you fine, Dave. It's that keeps going in and out.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
It's probably lightning.
you know, it is. The hotel Wi-Fi is not very, so I'm doing the hotspot on my phone, so it's probably that.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so they're having
Yeah,
a 2-day sale. They put out tents. They have vendors. They have giveaways, and I'm probably going to be there filming and almost working. So with them.
So, man, listen, my weekends between Billy's having another so I went to Dave's get together. I'd absolutely fish. Was it last Saturday?
Yep.
Last Saturday. Billy's is coming up. There's a sale at Absolutely Fish. Machina, like it's a busy time. A lot going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I want to
know if he wants to join us.
I want to make it. I want to make it out too. I want to try. I just noticed last year I was so interested in getting in seeing what Reefapalooza, California was like, and I was interested. And I found a few videos, but it was almost like YouTubers, but they were more like lifestyle bloggers who just happened to be reefers. So when they went to the show, they weren't like hardcore. Like when I watch videos, I want to see videos of people's tanks and equipment. Like that's just me. But they were more like lifestyle bloggers that happened to have reef tanks. So they were more doing lifestyle stuff who just happened to be at a reef conference,
Right.
So it just hit me and said, hey, like, why doesn't it get the same coverage as, Orlando and New York? It's
simply because it's not you live streaming and things like that and showing stuff on YouTube is just not a California thing.
It's not.
Yeah.
You need hydraulics on them tanks, then they'll be videotaped.
It's not a California thing. All right.
Californians are busy. They just
and New York cars aren't? Come on.
No, it's not. It's different. It's just different. For instance, people expected Machina to just be insane when it was here in San Diego. They're like, oh, with so many reefers. And I'm like, California people have a hard time going somewhere and staying in one spot for 3 days. It just doesn't happen. You know, they want to go to a show for one day and they're not coming back tomorrow. That's just reality in California. So, you know, I mean, it's like me, you know, if I go to some place on Saturday, you know, on Sunday, I'm going to be doing all the stuff I didn't get done on Saturday because I took time out to do that. We just live a busy lifestyle. I don't know what it is. A lot of it is, you know, the majority of us spend a lot of time in our cars, you know, commuting and so forth, since we have no public transportation. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
That might be it there. Non-driver here, and I still get around pretty fine.
Yep.
Yeah, but they dropped you off on the highway last weekend. He took the bus, absolute fish, dropped them off right on the highway.
That was not a good experience.
Nice.
Dave. That was not. I called Dave panicking. I'm like, Dave, like the bus led me off of the side of the highway. Like, what do I do? and Google was telling me, continue walking on the side of the highway. And I'm like, there are a bunch of exits. So what do you want me to do? Run past the exits? You know, and it wasn't, you know, there's certain, you know, like Dave on Route 4, there are at least sidewalks.
Right.
But this was no sidewalk and there were a few exits. So I was a little worried, Dave. I admit, I was a little concerned.
So just come up the ramp. Because if I had to go get you on the highway, it would have been 3 U-turns, 20 minutes, and I probably would have got rear-ended when you were getting in the car.
Well, see, here in California, you know, like you guys do these, you know, these where you'll go from fish store to fish store. You don't have to go far from fish store to fish store here in Orange County.
But that's awesome. That's a good thing.
Oh, no, it is. It's a great thing. And that's why there's so many reefers here, because there's so many stores. I mean, you don't go far to get to the next fish store.
Yep.
Very high concentration of fish stores here.
But to be honest, though, I have to be honest, for the amount of people that are in New York City, 8+ million, for instance, Manhattan, there are 2 saltwater fish stores in Manhattan. Manhattan Aquariums and Pacific Aquariums, which I wouldn't even say they do saltwater. That is, their saltwater section is pretty pathetic. And I don't say that publicly. So Manhattan Aquariums is the only, I like them. I think they're great, but they're the only one I would even categorize as half decent. I would say the second and third best saltwater stores in Manhattan are like basement guys. Chinese guys in Chinatown that have basements or walk-ups or just sell stuff out of their living room, their apartments. Brooklyn, you know what? Yeah, for New York City, I would say we seriously lack saltwater.
Right.
There's a bunch of freshwater places you can go and get, but we seriously lack fish stores, period, but good ones. I think there's, in New York City itself, I would say there's 5 to 6 worth visiting, even those ones I haven't gone to yet that are, but I think, to be honest, I've been to more fish stores in New Jersey that are worth, when I need something, look how many times I've met up with Billy at like Ocean Gallery because they can get something for me, or Absolutely Fish because, you know, I love Absolutely Fish because they're not space limited like Manhattan Aquariums in New York, and they carry everything from everyone. Like they're not just focused on, hey, we're a Red Sea shop, so we only carry Red Sea supplement. They literally carry everything.
Except Fritz.
Right.
Except Fritz?
Yeah, no Fritz.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Dave goes there.
all you got to do is keep hounding them.
They said
hounding those fish stores.
They did say, well, you know, if we take Fritz in, we got to get rid of something else. We just don't have the room, you know, because it's not just boxes of salt. Then you got all the supplements, all their live foods. or their frozen stuff. Now they got the frozen coral foods, which I want to try.
Yeah, someone, my LFS, the guy someone was asking me about Fritz the other day. I said, yes, I love the Fritz salt because it matches the parameters of where I keep my tank. And I said, the next closest thing that I like is Tropic Marin, and Tropic Marin is like $112, and Fritz is almost half the price. So I said, yes, I've tried the Fritz salt. I like it. I've tried the Fritz bacteria. What is it? The Fritz 460, and I like it.
Yeah.
So I say I'm a fan of Fritz for that. But to be honest, I think until Reefapalooza last year, Dave, not this one that passed last year, where Dave and, I never heard of Fritz before.
So you heard about Fritz through Reefapalooza?
Last year, I think Dave got some free stuff from Fritz. And he was going on, and he had the 2-part, and he got some free stuff from Fritz, and that's how I heard about Fritz. I never heard about Fritz before.
And that's where you heard about it too, Dave?
No, I was using the salt prior to that. I think I heard about it on Reef to Reef.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I
was using it.
I was going through. I mean, I was using. Again, it's one of those things where I was tired of the red sea salt. So I was trying the, what is it called? The one that BRS sells, that's the synthetic salt, but it was expensive. And then the Red Sea blue bucket was expensive because you pay more and then the bucket is smaller. So They were all one thing. And even though I was using them and I was happy, I was like, this is not sustainable because you can't pay $80, $90 for a bucket of salt. Then when I was on the Triton method, they recommend Tropic Marin because it closely matched your parameters, but it was 100. I think one time I needed salt and I had to go to Manhattan Aquariums to get it. And with taxes, it was almost $110, $120. And I said, no. And I think we got to talking on a live stream and we talked about the parameters of Fritz salt. And I said, hey, that's close enough where if I need to do a big water change, it's not going to swing things. And I ordered it and I tried it and I've stuck with it. I like it. And then again, somebody recommended when I had dinoflagellates, someone here, Miss Reefer Fox, I think she's an admin on Reef to Reef. She was explaining to me dinoflagellates can sometimes be caused by, imbalances of something. And someone said, try the Fritz 460. It can't hurt. I got my hands on some, and it was amazing how just dosing the Fritz 460 got started. I saw a noticeable effect on the dinoflagellate. So I just said, hey, it's not going to hurt if it's a part of my routine, just adding it periodically. So that's how I got that. That's the 2 Fritz products I use.
Right.
I like this so much.
They've been around for a long time. A lot of people don't realize it. Yes. Yeah.
Shit.
They never really put their name on products. They made products for other people.
It was more.
They were an OEM.
That's what Jessica said to me at Reefapalooza when I said, "Hey, I started you." She said, "Oh, we've been doing this for years and years and years. We just never had our name on the products."
Correct. They made it for other people.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
What, Billy?
Somebody said that the Fritz and the Live Aquarius salt comes from the same building.
Yeah, Brandon wouldn't go either way on that. He said it was above his pay grade to answer that question.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
You know what? When Live Aquarium released that salt, I'm disappointed in that. They offered a bunch of coupons, and I tried using the coupons to try it, and it didn't work. So I just kind of wrote that off.
Speaking of write-off, real quick, I jumped in. I was talking to somebody today. So I'm going to have a meetup January or February. And they said anytime we have a meetup, if you're a tri-state reefer, you get 20% off anytime you go there.
Nice.
Booyah!
Sign up now.
Very nice.
Which store is this?
You'll see.
Oh
Yeah.
man, it's one of those.
Yeah, you'll see, bro. I brought home a bunch of stuff from there today.
I know where you were today. I know where you were.
Oh yeah, don't say that. Don't say that. Yeah. So we got to come up with shirts and a logo and all that other stuff.
Oh, I should have asked Jessica to do that. She's art major. You should have asked her to fool around with something.
Right. My neighbor's a graphic designer or whatever, so I'll see if she can come up with something.
Yep.
I'm here checking out the parameters of live aquaria salt and Fritz.
Are they close?
They're close enough. They're very close.
I think the only way you could really do it, and I'm still up in the air about if Triton tests properly, because you never know who's doing it, but the only way to do it is really mix up 5 gallons of each and then take a sample of each and send them, see what they come up with.
I think Fritz gives me, when I'm doing Fritz, I think it gives me more solid, like they don't give me a range, while Live Aquaria gives me a range. And I found that the Fritz, the few times I've tested this, they all come really, and they advertise 8.5. I've never gotten it. Doesn't matter if I'm testing. I'm not gonna say I've scientifically tested, but anytime the 2 or 3 boxes I've used, every time I've tested the ALK, it's between 8.3, 8.4, and 9, which they advertise 8.5. So a half DKH deviation. I'm still happy with it. That's probably caused by me not probably mixing it up properly.
Yeah, just human error.
Yeah.
With the test kit.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I am very happy with that. Calcium, I get about 430, 440, and that's about what they advertise. The rest of them I haven't tested, but I'm happy with that.
I've tested all mine so far, and I've gotten 8.6, 8.5, 8.7, and 8.6.
And I believe Billy, because Billy writes everything down.
Right. Can't crash a piece of paper in a pen.
Nope. That's it, unless you spill water on it.
Oh, man, listen, man, this is my live stream. You can't troll me on my own live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Fritz. I've never. So now I don't know their line of supplements, but I think from just hearing about Fritz and seeing what Dave is doing, there's another change I made, Dave. I never told you about it, but if I am going to change from the Triton method because I don't trust it, I might do the Fritz stuff. I don't think I'm going to do the ESV stuff anymore. So it might be the Fritz stuff. So I like their. Go ahead.
It's just 2-part, and magnesium. They don't have like a trace element supplement yet. But they do have a new line of coral food, but it's got to be refrigerated. So, that makes it more expensive to ship. I have no problem with shipping salt and 2-part and things like that. But like their turbo start bacteria needs to be refrigerated. That's the one that's like that you start the tank with. Mm-hmm. It's highly concentrated, so it's refrigerated. So things that are refrigerated, I would love to go to an LFS around the corner and buy them. I don't want to pay the extra shipping to get refrigerated stuff.
Yeah, but I'm doing water changes anyway, so I'm not a no water change person. It's just that, and that's why for me the salt is important, because I can't do the water changes on a consistent basis. Well, I can't do them every 2 weeks or once a month. So when I do them every 6 weeks, it's usually a big one. And that's why I need the parameters to be really close to because when I do them, they're big. They're at least 30, 40%. So
that's what I use Fritz Blue Box for.
Yeah, that's why I use it. That's why the salt is important to me. It's not because I don't do small ones. I usually, because they're such a pain for me to do, that when I do them, they have to, they're big ones.
Right. Well, I've been doing small ones with the red line. The Fritz Red Box. So,
yeah, I wish.
But it's small ones, so I'm not going to like shift anything really. I'm just kind of taking a little bit off the top of my dosing.
Do you think? Do you, Billy? Do you? I don't remember if I've ever asked you this, but how often do you do water changes? Is it a consistent thing? Because I know you have low nutrients.
Billy?
He's probably playing with a dog.
Uh-oh.
Hey, how do you feel about that, Greg? Do you think it matters one way or the other whether they're small, consistent, or just do big ones periodically?
Personally, I don't think it matters. Personally, I don't think salt matters. I don't care where the parameters are, as long as I know what they are, I can adjust for it either way.
Right.
So if, as I tell people, if you run 8 DKH and you do a 20% water change with water that's 10 DKH, and mind you, most people who do what they call a 20% water change probably aren't really doing 20%. They're probably doing less, but that's another story. Even if you use 10 DKH, so you go up to 8.4 DKH when it's all over.
Right.
That's nothing.
Right.
So you don't have to dose as much. It's not a big deal. I think people, I know too many people using Instant Ocean that have phenomenal tanks.
No, I hear you.
So it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I think I've done 50% already, and my stuff swung a little bit more than when I needed. Because when I have an issue, I am not one of those people who's gonna, if I have an issue, like dose something. If I have an issue, one of the first things I do is do a big water change.
Right.
If I see something,
that's the easiest way to reset.
Mm-hmm. So I have, between the buckets and the setups I've made sure I've calculated it where I can do a 50% easy.
Right.
So I there's been a few times whenever stuff, even the other day when stuff wasn't looking good, what did I do? I kind of had a feeling it was the heat and the chiller. I did a 50% water change anyway, just to be sure, for peace of mind, because I knew I was going to be traveling in a couple of weeks, and I think if I had come back from this trip and a lot more stuff had died, I think I would have, would have been pretty tough on myself, knowing that I probably could have done a water change. I've been a little bit more proactive and hadn't. So I did that big water change. So when you're doing a 50% water change, I think you're right, the 20%, but when you're doing 50,
when you're doing 50, it matters. But
yes.
I would never tell anyone to do a 50% water change unless it was an absolute emergency. I would rather see you do 20, 20, 20. Right. Three consecutive days. I mean, and the reason I say that is just like my signature on the forum says, stability promotes success.
Sure.
So I would
water change.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of issues to deal with when you do a large water change. You got temperature issues, which at 20% it doesn't really matter. Right. You got pH issues. You may have a different pH and so forth. I know some people that actually match their pH before they actually do the water change.
Wow. How do you even control the pH? Like, let's say whatever you mix up is higher in pH than your tanks. How do you even bring it down?
Breathe in
it. Yeah, but then that's a whole different. You're adjusting something else.
Yeah,
put a straw in there
or whatever. I mean, there's things. There's ways of doing it. I'm not doing any more than 20%. I mean, with my 25 gallon, I do a 5 gallon bucket. Whatever I get out in 5 gallons, I'm going to put 5 gallons back in. That's it.
Right.
I'm not.
You're lucky if I get my refractometer out and check salinity on a 5 gallon water change.
Right now I actually buy my water from the fish store, and no, I do not. I've never checked the water going into the tank.
But I mix it. I have a 2.5 cup scoop. I scoop the salt in there and let the pump run it. and it's good to go in about an hour.
Oh man, you guys are terrible. I have to bring in a bunch of stuff off the fire escape, and then the kids running around. I've had it before. There's been a couple of times where, and it hasn't even been the kids, where I tripped and fell into a water change bucket. So I need to get it in and out. That was not a fun day. That was not my finest moment because I had to.
That's where the ESV is really nice. I don't think anything mixes faster than the ESV.
Yeah, I think I could have a water change going in 20 minutes with the Fritz. I mean, it does mix really nice, quick. It's not like Reef Crystals. I think Reef Crystals and Instant Ocean want you to mix overnight, if I remember the instructions correct.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a lot of beautiful tanks with, like you said, Instant Ocean and Reef Crystals.
Too many Instant Ocean tanks out there. I mean, it's the widest used salt there is. But you know, I think a lot of people are really happy with the Fritz. I trust in the company. They make a very, very good product. And they've been around. Like I said, they're not new kids on the block like people think they are. So they do know what they're doing. They have real scientists there. It's it's not like a little hole in the wall 5,000 square foot facility.
So they have actual scientists.
Absolutely.
They're not mixing white powder up in the garage.
No.
All right.
So now I did hear. Not hear. I mean, I talked with Sean over there, and he said they do. It is mixed in a small batch. It's only like a pallet at a time that they make salt. Salt for, whereas Instant Ocean is making who knows how much, because most all your public aquariums are using Instant Ocean.
Yeah,
I mean they make an awful lot of salt. I mean, think of how the Georgia Aquarium with that 6 million gallon tank that the whale sharks are. I mean, think how much Instant Ocean is in there.
We're not saying Instant Ocean is bad. We're just saying
no. I'm just saying. I mean, they make a whole lot of salt at one time. Fritz is able to make small batches, but because they make small batches, they track everything. So if you have a bad, what you think is a bad batch, they can go back and check it.
Exactly.
Hey, Greg, Bubba is asking, what part of OC Reef is G from? What part of the OC are you from?
I live in Orange, so Central Orange County.
Okay.
Yeah. I see everybody, saying I use this and I use that. And like Greg said before, whatever you use, just keep using it and be consistent with it. It all works.
They all work.
We just happen to got on the Fritz thing. We, two of us happen to be using it. So
yeah. I mean, the bottom line is you have to be confident in the products that you use. But, all too often people, if a bad reefer uses Fritz, he's going to still be bad.
Right.
It's not, there's no magic in it.
Yeah.
It's a good quality product. And it's not going to be, you're not going to have a bad experience using it. I don't feel. If you did, it's probably your fault. But that's.
I've seen it in chats and comments. Oh, I started using Salt X and now I have cyano. It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad source water or bad husbandry or something.
Yeah, exactly.
People apply that. People apply that to everything. Oh, I started using this. I started feeding. I went from pellets to frozen food, and then all of a sudden my nutrient spiked, and ignoring the fact that he was removing his sand bed at the time, and I'm not
right.
I've also learned that sometimes when two things happen at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean it could have been a ticking time bomb, and it just so happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I mean, you've seen my little nano reef. I mean, it's only 6 months old, but it looks pretty darn good. You know where the top off water comes from?
The tap.
No, it is only RO, but it's just fed through my refrigerator, so I just get it out of the refrigerator. But I don't use DI, and I know several people here in California that have stopped using DI. They just do RO.
I haven't used DI. I have an RO buddy. That's it.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey,
That's what
in New York.
I don't have an RO buddy. I have the other Aquatic Life, the one with the twist-in filters.
Right.
And I hooked it up to feed my refrigerator. And then I set up this 25. It was really for drinking water, and the 25-gallon came around. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's where I'm getting my top-off water from.
Also, in my defense, my tap water's 60 TDS. So.
Oh.
In New York,
we're upward.
we have the best. We have the best water in the country. Like,
yes, you do.
So I remember when I first started reefing, I only use like a DI resin. I mean, I burn through it every 4 months, 3 or 4 months. But still, You're talking about only DI resin, and you're getting 0 TDS out of it.
No pre-cartridge or anything?
No.
Wow.
0 TDS. I mean, now I bought my BRS. My building is old, and New York City, we're having problems with our thing leaking. So my sediment filter actually clogs every 3 or 4 months. So my filter and my DI resin, it's been 2+ years. I just replaced them because it's been 2+ years and no changes. I just felt like it's been that long that they were worth replacing. But, I think sometimes out of my tap, I get 6 TDS, 12 TDS. But in terms of, you take out my filter after 3 or 4 months, that thing is dirty, red. You see little pieces of rust in it because our New York City pipes are so old.
Right.
We have a lot of sediments in our water, but there's no chloramine. There's a little bit of chlorine added. It's UV disinfected. A little bit of fluoride is added, but not much is done to process our water.
Yeah, I've always heard you guys had really good water in New York City.
Yeah, that's why our bagels and stuff are good. It's just because our water has low calcium and low other content. So, if you're in, let's say, New Jersey, you have places in New Jersey that has awesome bagels, but they probably have to pay extra to, like, I think the water out of the tap to bake, if you don't treat it, it's going to have, it's going to affect, I guess, how soft the bagel is.
It's North Jersey, South Jersey. That's what it is. North Jersey uses the same water as New York City. Basically, it all comes from upstate.
Yeah. So New York City, which is downstate, owns millions and millions of acres upstate. And also they got laws to pass where if you're on this area, there's very restrictive on what you can do. Like, there's places where if you want to build a little shed in your backyard, you have to get like a bunch of permits. They make it almost impossible to build anything on what they call the New York watershed. And that's all because there's this drainage system that drains. So they're very careful about anybody building. And then the city just bought a bunch of land upstate years ago, and it's just open wetlands that no one can build on. And that's where the reservoirs are that stuff collects. And then it just goes through, all gravity fed, by the way. Everything from upstate is gravity fed, and it's enough to go to, I think, the 4th floor of every apartment building in New York. Anything over 4th floor, it's pumped up to holding tanks on the ceiling, on the roof of the building, and then it's gravity fed back down to the apartment. So the system is, even though it's 100+ years old, it was well designed. So if you live on the 3rd floor or below in New York City, your water, everything's gravity fed. It doesn't need to be pumped, and not much is added or done to it.
Yep.
Wow.
Just don't talk about the city steam pipes.
Well, here in California, we don't have any water to worry about.
Wait, is it?
Good night, Ash. Ash is taking off. Good night, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, good night. We don't have any water to worry about. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. Sorry.
Yeah, we're always in a water shortage. Well, Southern California, the basin here is effectively a desert if we didn't pump water in from Northern California.
Right.
Same with Bubba. He's in Arizona.
Oh, Bubba's in Arizona?
Yeah, he was just asking if O could send him your information, like email and stuff, if it's okay with you, because he wanted to get to know some of the LFSs in your area because he goes to your area.
He goes to my area?
Yeah.
Bubba can contact me on Reef to Reef. I mean, Jesus, we're on there all day, every day.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I don't know if Bubba's on Reef to Reef. I think that's a different guy. But Greg,
Are you sure?
He said that earlier. So you know what, Greg? Can you just, if you don't mind, just text
give
me
my
your
info.
Yeah. All right, I'll give him, and he'll text you. All right, no problem.
Okay. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
So
Bubba's in OC a lot. Huh.
Yeah, that's where all the fish stores are. They're not in LA like everybody thinks.
Do you find that when you come to New York and you see our prices, do you think you get better deals, or you think you guys get better stuff but pay higher prices?
You want reality?
I want
reality is most of the high-end reef keepers here all have a friend that has a wholesale license.
I don't.
And with no, here in Orange County.
No, I have a friend who has a wholesale license.
Right.
But I didn't want anybody to think I was the guy who had the wholesale license. So don't call.
Yeah, right. And that's what it is. We all got a friend who may be a service guy or may have been a service guy at some time or may have a company that sounds like a service company and isn't one. And they all have accounts at these wholesalers. So a lot of us get stuff wholesale. I tend to do, I like to set up tanks using frags. So I don't, tend to buy colonies and things like that. But, we have that option here that they don't have elsewhere. So yes, prices are cheaper here. Because they bought it at the wholesaler and they drove it back to their store.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you guys, everything comes in through LAX, then goes to wherever its next stop is.
Exactly.
So even if you go to a wholesaler in the New York area, that stuff still came through LA. It didn't go straight to New York. So you had to pay more shipping to get the stuff there, even at the wholesale level.
Yep. Is there anything coming into LA these days?
Well, a lot of Aussie. Really, some real nice Aussie stuff. There's a lot of the wholesalers around here. I mean, some of them are struggling. Some of them are really struggling because they were making a living off of Endo. They never established Aussie contacts because Aussie was more expensive.
Right.
So, a lot of, I know a lot of the wholesalers that supply most of these online guys. And, all the ones that had contacts in Australia that were bringing in Australian stuff are doing fine because they're still bringing in Australian stuff. Everybody else is scrambling because they're trying to find out who are the good guys to get stuff from in Aussie and who are the bad guys. So they're playing catch up.
Right.
But there's some beautiful stuff coming in from Australia right now. Much better than what used to come in, for sure.
Alex King said, I heard Tonga is coming back. People are selling fake torches now.
Until it actually comes back, I don't believe nothing. These are third world countries that we're dealing with. They do what they want to do when they want to do it. So until they actually start exporting, I'm not going to hold my breath.
It may
You
take us.
Americans. I also think sometimes we have to be, it's these countries' natural resource. So let's, I know we all
Yeah.
want corals, but let's give them a chance to manage or do what they. I don't know the politics behind it. I really don't. And
Oral,
huh?
I think you just sent me my own contact.
Oh, wow. I am not a double multitasker.
Okay.
Oh, okay. There you
Okay.
go.
There we
Bubba,
go.
you got it.
So go back to third world countries.
Yeah, third world country. No, I was saying, they're managing they're doing, I don't know the policies behind it, but probably they're doing what they think is best for their natural resource. So, I've heard so many stories about what people think is going on. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's not a situation that they're damaging the reef. The majority of corals coming in are farmed. And the reason why is because they get more consistent coral if they farm it.
Hmm.
If they find something beautiful and they farm it, they continue to have beautiful stuff. Ever since they've been farming corals, the corals that have come in are so much nicer than the wild stuff we were getting.
Even the brown stuff.
Well, no, divers don't pick brown corals. Remember that.
Right.
I mean, it's a hard road to get here to the U.S.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the hardest thing for you guys is because it's an even harder road because it's still got to be shipped to the East Coast. And you don't have someone with your eye, picking out the coral. So it's you place an order with a wholesaler if you're a fish store on the East Coast, and that guy's going to pick out coral. He's going to give you some good stuff, going to give you some brown stuff.
I love the brown stuff because it's like $10 frags and sometimes
Absolutely.
I'll
Yeah.
gamble. I'll roll the dice on a $10 frag any day.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many Tyree LEs I made out of corals that I paid maybe $25 for a colony that were brown. Where I went to the fish store guy and I just said, look, you're going to kill it. Why don't you just sell it to me cheap?
That works.
Tell Bubba I'll answer him after because otherwise I got to switch off of the screen. But,
Asking Bubba.
But yeah, I will. I think here in California we just have a nicer choice, a nicer variety, and we got connections.
All right, so that's definitely going in the why I should attend the Reefapalooza California box.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's not forget that big $6,000 bounce mushroom sold at Reefapalooza, California. $6,000 somebody paid for a mushroom. He killed it.
He did?
He killed it.
Oh.
About 3 months later, he contacted the guy and let him know that he lost it. But it was like the size of a saucer.
And that's just it. That's the end of the coral.
The end of that one.
Oh.
So, but the guy who sold it had just bought it a month earlier.
Oh, there's a Southern California guy, Jay Carey.
So you know what?
He makes videos. Jay Carey, go to Reefapalooza and make a damn video this year. They need YouTube support.
Yes, we do.
You know what? I'm just looking at my calendar now. I have so many events planned between now and next year.
Reefing events.
Yeah, I know.
Try and work. You just have to call in sick on those ones.
Don't forget Aquatic Experience.
It's not work I'm worried about. It's Aquatic Experience, MACNA, Oh, oh, my calendar's filling up. You know
Yep.
what? You know what? We will talk offline
All right.
because if it's just a day or so, it might be able to make it work. Duh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can always fly on a red eye back home.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm
Yeah.
doing for Vegas. So that way, I leave Monday. I don't have to lose. I could get home. My wife works at night. She can still go to work that night. I'm
Right.
an aquatic experience, right, Dave? It's gonna be in Reef. It's gonna be in the same Meadowlands in October.
Yep.
Expo Center. I think
It's
it's
like the
bigger.
weekend after or 2 weeks after.
They might actually move the curtain and give us more building this year.
They might. I mean,
I think they have
they're
to.
freshwater. They're freshwater and salt.
Yeah, and a lot of the vendors that were at Palooza said they were going to be there as well. So
Yeah.
there will be coral.
All right.
I'm not a freshwater guy.
I haven't been in a very long time.
There's only two freshwater channels I really follow. Joey's one, and I can't remember the other one. And I mainly do it because I like the guys and the personality. But I'm sorry, I'm not a freshwater person.
Sorry, guys.
Oh.
My dog's going nuts on a squirrel.
It's all right.
Get them.
That's exactly right.
Woody says Barry's still going. Woody, it's like 4:30 a.m. in the morning. He's in the UK.
Wow. Dedicated.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. I'm only gonna go a few more minutes. It's 11:38 here.
I'm fine with killing it whenever you are.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you very much for joining, Dave. I can always depend on you. Always a pleasure. Billy Pipes was on for a little bit. Thank you, Billy. He had to jump off. Thank you, Greg. G. Carroll.
No problem.
His you know what? You should put. I'm not seeing your avatar. Oh, you do have the avatar from the forums here.
Yes.
On your YouTube channel. Yeah. I to be honest, I didn't know who you were when you first popped into the streams, but when I saw the avatar and you said G. Caro, immediately popped up. That's the guy who causes problems.
Yes.
And tells people like it is.
Well, I tell him that it's not the product to blame, it's you.
You heard
choices.
When someone has just
I
paid
heard people's
hundreds.
feelings.
Yeah, I know you as the guy who heard. Yeah. They warned me about you, but when someone has just paid a couple $100 for a product, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear that it's the product to blame. It's the product to blame.
Right, and I, you know what it is. I try to be the voice that everybody wants to say, but they're afraid to upset somebody. So I will say it, and because if you look at my post and look at how many likes I have more likes than post. I'm approaching a 2-to-1 ratio. So people like what I say, although they wouldn't say it themselves. They like it. So yeah. I mean, I just tell people. I mean, like I said, I want everyone to succeed, and I don't want them to be putting this false blame where it shouldn't be. If one person can be successful with a product, then they can be successful with a product. I can't tell you how many people have told who tell people on the forums and whatnot. Oh, you can't just go LED. You gotta go T5. You gotta mix T5 in there. Like T5 is like no one was successful in reefing before T5. I mean, it's not real. You can be successful with any form of light if you use it properly.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe we're still having those. I heard that.
I know.
In our LFS, and I see it from time to time. Say, I've heard people say, "Oh man, the only thing I would put on an SPS tank is metal halides." And I see those things pop up
Right.
all the time.
Well, but these T5 guys don't even remember metal halide.
Right.
See, they think that T5 is king when it comes to growing SPS. And I'm sitting here going, where were you 10 years ago?
Right.
Because you weren't keeping reefs, obviously, because that was before T5. So, I mean, people just need to understand that there's more, there's a million ways to be successful. And it doesn't have to be as hard and complicated as you think.
Yep. And then there's also a lot of parroting. One
Absolutely.
person says it, 5 people that don't know and better repeat it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard, don't use too much GFO because, if you remove phosphate from the tank too quickly, you'll shock your corals and they'll die? You ever heard that?
All the time.
I've never used UFO, but I don't.
Yet you'll do a 50% water change, which cuts your phosphate in half in just a couple of minutes.
Listen, I'm someone that have done 100% water changes already because I've said if there is something that I was doing some maintenance once and I lost a screw. I couldn't remember where the screw is. And then I remember finding the screws in the tank. So like a couple weeks later. So what did I do? I did 100% water change. And guess what? Stuff looked damn good when that.
Yep.
I don't know if it was the screw I don't know if it was the rust from the screw that got out, but something happened where that tank looked awesome. And I thought about it and said, what about, because if there's something bad in the tank, you want to get it out. Like I've done there's been a few occasions where I've done 100% water changes and there's been no real ill effects.
Right. No, that's just it. I mean, the hobby's not that hard. People make it harder than it has to be. And, you got people with Triton saying, don't do water changes. And I'm like, water change is a hard reset. That's what it is. Yep. It's a hard reset. The water change is going to get you back where you needed to be in an instant. So, utilize it for that tool for sure.
I'll take some of the blame for that. I think when I was doing Triton, I think one of the things I always touted was, hey, man, you don't have to do water changes. And you know what? I learned pretty fast that doesn't work.
What's funny is even Joe at Unique Corals will tell you, yeah, you should be doing water changes. It's not going to hurt anything. But the Germans, you got to realize they're in a different situation than us. It's harder for them to get all the resources to make their own water and all of that stuff. All these Europeans, it's different over there. They can't go to Home Depot. They just don't have everything that we have here. So if they can get by without doing water changes, they're going to do it. It's just so much less work for them because, where we take that for granted, it's so easy. It's easy to just run to the fish store and buy some water if you had to, they don't have it as easy as we do. So you always got to take that into consideration with their methods versus ours. But, I mean, do you think it's fair for someone to wait 10 days to find out what's wrong with their tank when they're losing coral?
Nope.
Or when things aren't looking good? But there are people who are saying, oh, well, you're not supposed to do a water change with Triton. Hey, if you start losing coral, you better do a water change or wait your 10 days.
I did an ICP test. Yeah. And a lot of levels, like the tank wasn't dying or anything, but a lot of the levels of the ICP test was off. And I think I did the calculation between buying, I have potassium and iodine on hand, but between buying all the other Triton supplements to get everything back in line, I think it would have been like $100 and something price tag. And you know what I did? I did a water change. And because at the time, I think BRS was having a sale where I got a bunch of ICP tests at about $20 a pop. So I was using them for anything. So I did big water change, huge water change, and then sent off another ICP test. Everything came back perfect. So instead of spending $100 adjusting all these different elements, just big water change fixed everything.
Yeah, fixed everything. But people like you were saying regurgitate things. They hear these things.
Yeah,
and they start advising people about.
I used to do that
don't
too.
Really know.
I used to do that too. So yeah.
I think we all did at a point. I know when I answer a question on a forum, I normally don't just. I tell them exactly why. I gave them the answer I give them. I don't just usually I try not to just give a cut and dry answer. I try to give detail as to what my thought process went, behind it.
Yeah.
Like when you can research my name in GFO and you'll see way back when GFO first started getting popular, and I was telling everybody, it's not the phosphate dropping, it's the alkalinity dropping, because it's removing alkalinity out of the water. No one ever talked about that. No one ever talked about GFO dropping your alkalinity for years. But it's a reality. First few days, it sucks out a lot of alkalinity out of your tank. You need to watch that.
Sherry's saying, so if you have low phosphate and nitrate, why change water? Well, there's other things that you're not testing for. There's different kinds of coral warfare, toxins, things that
absolutely
our test kits don't test for, that you could be removing with those water changes. And carbon and things like that can help take it out. But just to know.
Yeah, but even carbon absorbs other things too.
Right.
You're just doing a reset. There's lots of minor trace elements and all of that you don't get any other way unless you're dosing.
Yeah, I've always said that.
Wants to do all that.
Everybody's putting 2-part in, but what about all the trace stuff? We're guessing you can put like fuel and use this or that in there, but you're really guessing your levels.
Right.
Well, I have the Coral Colors test kit, and I used it once. It's like, this is too much trouble.
I have an alkalinity test kit, and I have a refractometer.
I know. That's kind of all I use.
I'm sorry. I have a magnesium test kit, and I use my test kit. I have the HANA checker. I don't even use it for alkalinity. I just use my what was it? Not HANA. Lamont test kit. I can test alkalinity faster than I can using a HANA checker. So.
Yeah, but if you're running carbon and dosing, then why change? Yeah, but what are you dosing? If you know what you're dosing and you're using maybe Tritons telling you they're putting everything back in, that's one thing. But still, there's that coral warfare, that soft coral next to that SPS, and they're putting out their toxins into the water to battle each other. You want to get some of that out, and you're not sure that the carbon's going to do it because there's no way to test for it.
Right.
It's just, again, how I end everything that I say is in my opinion.
Well, yeah, we're like lawyers. We're practicing this hobby. We're always practicing. Nobody's an expert. You can only talk about it up to how long you've been doing it and give your experiences. Like I tell people, I've killed so many dollars in corals and fish. I care not to think about it, because if I was, I'd probably be driving a Rolls Royce by now.
Yeah, right. And there's some beautiful tanks that don't do water changes, so there's another argument or debate that's available for you, but it makes me feel good to change some water every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. I think if people are really worried about trace elements, they should invest in a calcium reactor. But since very few people ever do, I know that they really don't care. Because the calcium reactor is really the easiest way to put back what the corals take out.
Sure.
There's no easier, more consistent way.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing with Sherry. I'm just, that's my opinion. And if it's working for you and your tank's looking good, then keep doing what you're doing.
Like we said, a million different ways to be successful in this hobby.
Right. I'm probably
a million different ways to fail.
I'm probably overdosing trace elements with the fuel and stuff because I just pour it in every now and then,
Yeah.
And my refugium takes all my nitrates and phosphates out. I even bought a URL HANA checker and it still says 0. I was like, really? I spent $50. I at least wanted to see a number.
Right.
And I just want to add to something that Sherry said. When you're saying, I don't know if my wife is trolling me, but she just messaged and said help gators. So she's outside. So I guess gators are
on your live stream. They were teasing you about gators.
If you're at 0 and you're doing 20% water changes, yes, it won't add anything. You're absolutely right. But if you're doing 20% consistent and you're consistent with it, your tank will find an equilibrium, that works.
Oh,
but yes, if you're looking at 20% won't change anything and you're at 0, most of us who are doing something, we're not at 0 anything. But yeah, 20%, just like if you have really high phosphates and you're doing 20% water changes, you're not really getting them down because you're going from, you're going from 10 to 8. And then the next time you do a water change, you're going from 8 to, I don't know what the next number is, but you're not going to 6. You just, you're not diluting much. If you have an issue and you're trying to do 20% water changes to get rid of, it's not doing much. You need to do bigger. But
right.
I do believe that eventually, if you're doing something and you're consistent, the tank finds an equilibrium. I think my problem is that I either don't stick with it or I just try to change stuff too much, which is what I'm working on for myself. Just stop changing stuff willy-nilly like that.
And Straight Reefer said Miracle Mud ? That it's got a benefit. I don't know. Is it putting the right amount at the right time in, or are you getting a higher concentration when it's new, and does that dwindle as it gets old? And again, somebody would need to test that.
Well, I can tell you something about Miracle Mud because that company's based here in Orange County, and I don't know that it does anything better than any other form of refugium, deep sand bed, whatnot. I mean, of course, it doesn't need to be as deep because it's a finer particle. But it in the end, it denitrifies. Whether it's actually putting a lot of nutrients in the water. I mean, a deep sand bed also put nutrients in the water. I mean, because when you get in those low oxygen zones, the sand is actually melting. The aragonite's melting. And it's putting things back in the water. I can tell you this. We used to, when they were doing that video series where they were testing things, with Miracle Mud and without Miracle Mud, well, those tanks are all no more. They all died. So you still have to be a very good reef keeper, whether you're using Miracle Mud or not. It's just another way. There's no miracle about Miracle Mud.
Oh, if you stir it up, you see shiny little things. I believe those are the miracles.
It's a great place for pods and little organisms like that.
I love it. I love the trace element stuff for Miracle Mud. I don't know, and I can't speak to that. But if someone's looking for a great refugium substrate to breed pods, I've tried the deep sand bed live rock. I just think I don't know if it's the grain size or the fact that they eat it, but it's the if anyone asks me what's the best refugium substrate, I'm always going to say Miracle Mud, because whenever I've had a refugium with it, the breeding rate for pods and amphipods in it is better than anything else I've seen. It's better than deep sand bed.
I think it's really good. I'll tell you what I think is my favorite when it comes to breeding pods, which is rubble rock.
Yep.
A bunch of calcium reactor media. The large calcium reactor media, not big, not the small calcium. The chunks, pieces of coral, pieces of small rock. And the reason why is because
becomes a detritus trap and there's something.
It becomes exactly. It's a detritus trap. It's free of predators. They hide in there, and they breed like rabbits. It is crazy how much your pod population can explode having an area like just a pile of rubble
right
in your sump.
Now back when I had Caulerpa in my room, it liked the Miracle Mud. I saw a big change in it from adding Miracle Mud. The rhizomes shot their little shoots into it and it took off. Then it went asexual, turned white, and died. But the Chaeto won out that battle between the Chaeto and Caulerpa. But when I was running the Caulerpa, it liked Miracle Mud. So if you're using Caulerpa, you might want to throw a little Miracle Mud in there. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never saw a downside to Miracle Mud. So I can't really tell you the upside, because when I started doing that, I started using the Fuel too and Reefroids. I kind of started doing it all at once. And something happened. Maybe my tank matured and it was none of the above. But
I'll tell you the biggest thing, one of the other big reasons I like substrate, and Miracle Mud is just one of them.
Right.
It adds more area for bacteria to colonize.
Sure.
And the smaller the particle, the more surface area the particles have in a given area. Mm-hmm. So when you have Miracle Mud, you have a massive amount of surface area for bacteria. And one thing that pods love is bacteria.
Yep.
I noticed a massive explosion in my pod population when I started feeding my refugium from my biopellet reactor.
Okay.
And I talked with the guys at Reef Nutrition about this at a show one day, and he's like, "Well, yeah, pods love bacteria. They will mow down the mulm." He's all, if you run, a low flow in a pellet reactor, you'll see they'll grow in the pellet reactor.
Right.
And I mean, it's pretty crazy. They absolutely, they went to town on it. It's amazing how fast those things populate.
Yep.
So.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I am falling asleep.
I'm ready too.
That's all right.
Take care.
I'm sorry.
We'll see you next week.
You got to get up and do it all again tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for everyone who joined in the chat. I'm sorry. I was literally dozing off.
I hear you.
Take
care.
Good night.
All right. I'm not removing that video, guys. But thanks,
Okay.
thanks, Dave, for joining. Dave, I'll stream from Worldwide tomorrow.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll talk tomorrow. You know what? I'll call you even after I stream and everything. I'll call you if you're looking for something. Greg, I will hang on a second. Let me just make sure I got it correctly. I want to see the 900 and the if possible. All right, I'm going to send them a message. I sent them a message already. I just looked at Facebook.
Right.
Send them a message. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Everyone in the chat. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
All right.